Well, we're back with you once again to look ahead to the weekend Premier League action. It's myself, Warren Ashurst, and Tom Hill alongside me to pick out our top three bets of the weekend. We'll start off with my top suggestion, which is Bournemouth against West Ham, and this should be an absolute cracker. Both of these two teams in the top six as things stand at the moment, and both of them, you would say, have aspirations of potentially getting into Europe for next season. You would say overall, West Ham probably have the edge on that with their strength in the squad. But I'm not going to pick a winner here because I think it's really tight to call, especially with Bournemouth having home advantage. I'm going to go with both teams to score here. It is 1-2, so you're talking about an odds-on bet. But I think there's every chance this could happen, that both teams will score in this fixture. 18 goals scored in the last 5 meetings between these two sides, and just 1 clean sheet in those 5 matches as well. Bournemouth haven't kept a clean sheet this season, whilst West Ham haven't beaten Bournemouth since 2016. Everything to me seems to point to both teams to score bet in the game at the Vitality Stadium. Tom, what's your first suggestion of the weekend?
Well, my best bet for this weekend, Warren, is Leicester to win 2-0 against Newcastle United. Newcastle United 5-4, for the Foxes to get that job done. I think it speaks volume that Newcastle are not bottom of the table, but they're still the favourites to go down. Nobody thinks they're going to survive this year. And Leicester have already come through some really tough fixtures now, in the top 4, starting to get some good games at home. I think it's a great price for them to keep them out. And another bet I'd like to throw in there is Jamie Vardy to score anytime. 11-10 for the England or former England international to score. So Leicester have only got 1 defeat in 5. That came at the hands of Manchester United, and Newcastle haven't won in 4. So I just cannot see Newcastle scoring. I can see Vardy enjoying himself out there at the King Power Stadium, and Leicester keeping a clean sheet.
So Tom fancies Leicester then to do the job over Newcastle. Looking at my second suggestion then of the weekend, I'm going to look at a potential away win, and that is for Norwich at Crystal Palace. Now, I've seen a bit of Palace this season, very unpredictable indeed, and they look once again as though they're a team that look better on the way away from home than they are at home. Really struggle for goals. In fact, they've only got 4 goals in their 6 games this season. That's the joint worst, along with Newcastle and Watford. So not great signs going forward for Roy Hodgson's men. You look at Palace's poor home form, and then you compare that with a Norwich side who are full of energy, having got promoted, of course, from the Championship. Yes, they were beaten last weekend off the back of that win over Manchester City, but it was a little bit like after the Lord Mayor's show against Burnley, and I think they'll knuckle down and get back to potentially winning ways this weekend. I think they've got every chance, and a good price of 14-5 to win at Selhurst Park on Saturday in that 3 o'clock kickoff. Looking at your second game, Tom, what are you going with?
I'm trying to go down the similar sort of road that you're going down in terms of one team hasn't impressed me too much, and that's Aston Villa, and they play Burnley. Villa, I think for me, will be down in the dumps this week, Warren. The fact that they were so close to beating Arsenal, and then they threw 2 leads away to lose 3-2, and they're playing against a team that really will not take any prisoners in Burnley. Burnley thumped Norwich in terms of physically and didn't give them much of a chance, and I just fancy they'll have too much. 28-13 is the odds for the Clarets to get an away win. They're unbeaten in 2. Of course, the likes of Chris Wood, Ashley Barnes should prove too much for that Villa defence, who have not won in 3 league games.
Well, finally from my selections, I'm going for a game which involves 2 teams in the bottom 3 at the moment, Wolves and Watford, both of which haven't been great, of course, this season. But I do think overall, when you look at the squads, that Wolves are by far the squad, of course, going on last season's displays. You would probably say they just about are as well on where they finished in the league positions. But I think Wolves at Molineux at 19-20 are a decent bet to inflict another defeat, of course, on Watford, who were thumped last week 8-0 at Manchester City. Could have been worse, could quite easily have been double figures. He's got a real job on his hands as Quique Sanchez-Flores to try and turn things around. I think Watford's only hope really is building on a solid home record this season, and I think a trip to Molineux is not what they need at the moment. Yes, you can look at Wolves and you can say, well, actually they're really struggling in terms of picking up 3 points, but if you look at their home fixtures this season, Man United, Burnley and Chelsea, they're not the 3 easiest games to have in the league, especially when you've been playing Europa League around it as well. They haven't had the Europa League this week, and I think that will help them, and I think they've got every chance of putting one over on a team, as I say, also in the relegation zone. Finally, the last selection goes to Tom. What are we going with?
I'm going to try and play it safe with a over 2.5 goals bet in the big game between Manchester United and Arsenal. It's 4-6. I don't like tipping things that are a little bit as short as that, but I just cannot see it landing. In the last 7 Arsenal games, Warren, it's landed as over 2.5 goals. In the last 6 head-to-head games, it's landed 4 times. Manchester United have to go for this. They're under pressure. They cannot afford to lie down against the Gunners. And of course, Arsenal Aston, we've seen what they can do. They're scoring goals galore. They can't keep them out either. And I just fancy that over 2.5 goals will sail in this weekend.
Okay, well, that's our suggestions, of course, for the weekend. Another bumper weekend of Premier League action to look forward to. Plenty of betting opportunities as well. Let us know what you think about our selections on our social media channels, on Facebook and on Twitter. And, of course, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel.